Right now you join me behind the wheel of a TRD Pro Tacoma with my buddy Jeff. How's it going over there?
Good.
Yeah, and we've got this truck off-road in the mountains here in Colorado. Pretty spectacular location that we're in. This is right in our backyard, not far away from Keystone, and Toyota is out here to do a little drive and camping event with a bunch of their different new products. There's Destination Outdoors that's going on, so there's going to be a bunch of Toyota fanatics. But through part of that, we get to drive this TRD Pro on this light trail. And I say light because it's not the most challenging trail, especially for these vehicles. A lot of these are plenty capable enough to be doing something quite a bit more difficult. But even so, we still have the opportunity to drive this, and we can talk about a few things that this vehicle does really well and a few things that it doesn't. Jeff, what do you think of the visibility?
Oh, it's trash. I mean, it's not as bad as a full-size pickup, but it's got that goofy hood hump that looks like a scoop that actually doesn't scoop, and the cabin feels smaller because of the angle of the A-pillars. If we were just in this without going in the Land Cruiser, it'd be like, you know, it's fine. People just like to complain. But coming from the Land Cruiser, you're like, oh, I get it.
Look, this is not the only modern vehicle that has poor visibility looking out over the hood, but definitely that hood scoop and the bump that's in there, it limits your visibility quite a bit. So not my favorite thing in the world. If you're going above 7 miles an hour, then you won't be able to see your camera views. But if you're going slow enough, you do get some pretty decent camera views. It kind of distorts things a little bit, but you can still switch between quite a few different views. So they're nice things to have when your visibility out the front is pretty limited. But yeah, I just wish that it had I wish it had a better sight line to begin with. That would be always my ultimate choice. And then the other thing that I've been very interested in trying while getting in this vehicle and actually driving it off-road, because the only chance so far I've gotten to drive this TRD Pro has been on-road. And it's with these seats, the isodynamic seats. That's been, I would say, probably a controversial part of this new truck. And yeah, if you don't know, these seats have these almost mountain bike-like shocks built into them that are supposed to add some comfort. I don't know how much it's doing. We didn't take the time to dial in how much air pressure is in them, so you know, we could probably be optimizing it a little bit more. I'm not feeling a ton from it right now. What do you think? Yeah,
I think they have a lock-unlock function, much like you said, like a mountain bike front and fork or rear shock as well. And then they need to be set up for your weight, just with a mountain bike shock pump. So I don't know. I feel like it's for if we're out in the desert jumping them.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, not to say that it probably doesn't do anything at all. I think it probably does make some amount of difference, but the sacrifice that you make in rear seat space, it wouldn't be my go-to. My personal favorite of these Tacomas that are here is the Trail Hunter that's ahead of us, that we should have an opportunity to drive very soon as well and do some off-road testing with that. That's a little bit more of the rock crawler. To your point, this is supposed to be a little bit more of the desert runner, so they've kind of split those. Before the TRD Pro, in Toyota speak, it was a jack of all trades, and now they've kind of made specialty models for one use case or another off-road. So we're doing a little bit of what this TRD Pro is not necessarily kitted out for specifically, but it's still capable of a fair amount of rock crawling, and especially the degree to which we're rock crawling today is TRD Pro is not going to break a sweat. And every time we go off-road, we use Onyx, especially because when we're in some of the more remote areas like where we've been driving these last couple days, you can download offline maps, so that way you know exactly how difficult everything you're driving over is and you never get lost. We do still have some underbody protection on this model. We have Fox shocks on this model, fairly aggressive tires, so it's not a bad kit for what we're doing. But definitely that Trail Hunter having rock sliders and the Old Man Emu suspension that's on that machine, it's going to be set up a little bit more for crawling. It's also $1,000 less expensive than this TRD Pro. So as people have been talking about quite a bit, these new Tacomas are pricey. So if you look at a lot of other off-road specific flagship mid-sized trucks, Gladiator Rubicon is getting a little old, but those are around $53,000. The Colorado ZR2 starts around $48,000. Yeah, the Canyon AT4X is around $55,000, and so is the Ranger Raptor. And these trucks, this TRD Pro is about $64,000 and $63,000 there on the Trail Hunter. So these are more expensive than their peers by quite a bit. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for. There are some perks to these. They've got a hybrid system. You can pull quite a bit of power off the hybrid system. You've got 2,400 watts that you can pull off of. These are heavily featured trucks. They've got a lot of torque, 465 pound-feet of torque, 323 horsepower. So they're good, they're powerful, but they're quite a bit more expensive than their competition. And a lot of their competition has the availability of a front locker in addition to a rear locker. These trucks are just a rear locker. These trucks do have a sway bar disconnect. As far as comfort goes, that's a really nice thing to have. Not a lot of the competition has that. But that being said, a quick disconnect on a sway bar on a different truck is something that you could add yourself if you really wanted to. Would you go front locker?
I think it's a very nice to have, but I wouldn't sweat if I didn't have it, but it would have me considering adding a winch, just if I was ever in a situation where I needed to get myself out of, just that extra added security. But with the right tires and a rear locker, man, you can go a lot of places.
Yeah, and the traction control systems on these trucks can really do a lot. They can pick up a lot of the slack. So there's nice predictability with having a front and rear locker, but it's not like you're gonna be stopped in your tracks very, very often because you don't have it. You get along fine without it. I do like having it. Now there is pretty stiff competition in this segment of trucks. Again, the Gladiator is aging. They're still good rock crawlers, but the Ranger is new, Colorado is relatively new, and then these trucks are very new. So there's some stiff competition. There's some really good off-road trucks that you can buy in the midsize segment right now. My personal favorite, and I've got a chance to drive them all so far, I really like the Ranger Raptor, price considered. I like the powertrain. I like the availability of the front lockers. I like the suspension. It's a really fun truck to rally around in the dirt. These are also fun trucks to rally around a little bit, but that Ranger Raptor just has a certain X factor to the way it feels to rally around that makes it a very likable vehicle. It also sounds pretty decent. These actually don't sound bad. They augment the sound a little bit on these trucks. But you know, it works. It makes it sound better than that Land Cruiser that's ahead of us. But what do you think, Jeff, if you were to pick a truck in this category?
For me, it's if I had to pick a truck in this category, personally, I'm shocked at how much I like the Ranger Raptor. Especially if you compare it to the price of the TRD Pro and, like you said, the front locker. I really love the Fox shocks. That engine is a blast. It's quicker to 60 than a Bronco Raptor, which is such a great thing. You have more usable back seat, not a huge back seat, but a more usable back seat. Yeah. And yeah, Ranger Raptor is where it's at. Now, if you spend $48,000 on a ZR2, that's also just a really good truck.
It's a ripping deal for a truck that's got the Multimatic shocks, which we know to be fantastic. It's got front and rear lockers and comes in at under 50 grand. And you're still looking at good power figures on that truck. It's still plenty useful if you want to haul some things around. So yeah, that ZR2 is a good option on the budget end of things. The Ranger Raptor is probably the most fun of them all. It does definitely, it crawls pretty well, but it really comes alive when you get going fast. And we've got a kind of a steep downhill here.
This rock they want us to miss.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, pretty steep section here. This never shows up on the GoPro so much how steep stuff like this actually is.
Yeah,
but
this is pretty steep.
What's it giving us?
I mean, we're pitched at almost,
we're touching on 30. Yeah, it is cool. I like this screen a lot. This is a really sharp screen. Good tech that's in this truck. I will give it that. I would say I probably like this screen more than the Ranger Raptor, and I like the fact that there's a hard button for your rear locker and for your sway bar disconnect. Those are nice things. I don't love the fact that the Ranger Raptor you have to go into a screen and switch on the lockers is a little clunky. That's kind of nitpicking on a truck that's a lot of fun to drive. If the price tag on these trucks doesn't bother you, you'll end up with a really good truck from everything that we've been able to see so far. These trucks perform really well. They're fun to drive. They've got good power. So I don't think you'd be making a mistake if you went with this over the Ranger Raptor, but the Ranger Raptor is my pick for sure. Anyways, that's all for this video. We just wanted to do a quick little impromptu talk about this TRD Pro off-road and get to show it here in the mountains, because we're in a pretty beautiful location, and this is still one of the first times that we're getting to test this truck. Still on some pretty mild terrain. We'll be excited to get this over some more intense rock crawling, really get fully articulated and see how the rear locker in combination with traction control on this can handle some harder crawling. Maybe even try and find a spot where we can do some high-speed running as well, because especially on this Pro, that's what it's for. I think we're supposed to have that Trail Hunter pretty soon, so keep your eyes peeled for a video coming on that not too long from now. And yeah, that's all for this video. We'll see you in the next.